everybody. Hello, everyone. I apologize for the tardiness, but I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. But without further ado, I am going to introduce my guest, attorney Chadha Jimenez. Hello.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Hold on a second. Let me get Miss Nicole Diaz. Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing well. How are y'all tonight?
Oh, we're doing well. Glad you guys got a chance to be here. I'm so excited. Well, let me just begin in saying thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you guys. I really do. But
How are you? I haven't seen you so long.
I know it's been weeks, right? Seems like yesterday, right? Long time. But anyway, let's get started. I don't want to hold you guys up too long. But how are you doing?
I'm tired. I'm still tired. I thought being off the case was gonna give me a second win, but no, it's been exhausting. I am trying to recover. It's like coming back from a car wreck actually. So it is.
Oh, so are you okay?
Yeah. I'm fine. Well, I'm hurting, a little pain here and there, but I'll
Oh,
get better. I'll do the treatment.
okay, great. But let's speaking of the case, how are you doing since you're off? How is everything going? Is your life back to normal now?
No, not at all. I've started to, I guess, trying to get everything back together. All my other cases that have been pending forever have been just dragging along, and I'm trying to make a lot of prosecutors and judges not be angry at me. So catching up with that, I have the great attorney Nicole Diaz helping me. Today we sat in the conference room just going over all these old files, trying to get them back on track, and it's going to be a while, but hopefully we'll get back to rolling in business as usual.
So how many cases are you behind now?
What would you ask that? I can't lie on your show. I think I got about 300 pending cases.
300. Oh my God. That's a lot.
So because each case is going to take 6 to 9 months, so I might retire by the time I'm done with these 300 cases.
Well, okay. Can you talk anything about the YSL, or is you restricted from any questions or anything like that? So
You can ask away, and if there's something I don't think is appropriate for me to talk about, then I'll let you know. The reality is still an ongoing case. There's still parties that there's some information that by order of the court we're not supposed to share, but we'll take it as it goes.
Okay. Can we at least ask about what happened? How did your client, your client get off?
Well, we happy to say we beat the case. The state dismissed all charges on the YSL case against my client. I think it was long overdue. I believe he should have never been charged with this. Mr. Dorsey, who is a member of the Bloods, I think specifically is a member of the Slaughter Gang, is certainly not slime. Oh, that's my cat. Ignore him. He's not slime. He's not YSL. He has nothing to do with Mr. Williams. The only connection they have is that they grew up in the same neighborhood. That's it. They're both from the Cleveland Avenue area, which is part of town, a little south of Atlanta, a little north of the airport, where thousands of people have come through that neighborhood. And that doesn't mean that they all know each other. It's kind of like, when some people meet me and they realize I'm from Mexico, they ask me, "Oh, do you know Jesus?" Because he's from Mexico too, but that's just not how it works. Mr. Dorsey just happened to grow up in that area. And Mr. Dorsey had other cases pending, but none of the cases he had pending had anything to do with Mr. Williams or any of the other 26 co-defendants. I don't know why we were on the case. I thought from the beginning it was a waste of taxpayers' money. I was paid by the taxpayers, my fees, which weren't that much because all indigent defense attorneys are underpaid. but still, that is money that could have been used in better ways. But the state did drag it out. Took him 8.5 months to realize that it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, and he doesn't belong there. So they dismissed those charges. Mr. Dorsey actually filed a speedy trial on his own, and it was perfectly done, properly served, the right language. He did it from prison, and that speedy trial is still running, and it's going to run in November. So they cannot re-indict him for these charges after November. So I think we're done. We beat this case fair and square.
Awesome. That is so great. I'm happy for you. Do you know why? Because I've heard so many people say that about individuals who were serving time and they were placed as part of the YSL case. Do you know why this is happening? I know other than them living in the same neighborhood, but do you, what was the reason behind it?
If we were playing the court game and you're one attorney and then I'm the witness and the other attorney would be Ms. Diaz, she would stand up and say, objection, speculation, because I don't know. I can only speculate, but I will tell you what I think they wanted to do is that they wanted to put a lot of people that on paper look scary. They look so terrifying. They have convictions, and sit them next to the celebrity and make the celebrity look bad because in their mind is the company you keep, I guess. But the reality is that this man and these children, some of these young men are very, very young. Like little Rod, he's a child.
Yeah.
His brain is not fully developed yet. We've seen it by some of the ways he reacts, some of the, no disrespect, but tantrums that he's had in court because he is a child. But and he's serving life without parole, I believe. But they're trying to put him with the celebrity, even though, regardless of what they did, many of these men have paid their debt to society. DK, he ended up pleading, and he's on probation right now. I prosecuted him. I sent him to prison. He went to prison like a man. He didn't snitch on anybody. I don't remember. Right? I probably asked him if he wanted to snitch on somebody, and he didn't. He stood up tall and said, I'm going to take the charges. I did what I did. I'll serve my time. And he did, went to prison, got out, got a job like a man, was supporting his family, was not getting in trouble, was reporting to probation. And then they indicted him for YSL for actions that happened before he even went to prison. Nothing new. He didn't break any new laws. So again, I think the reason was they wanted to put convicted felons. They wanted to put convicted murderers next to a celebrity that has done, I think he had a first offender back in 2013 or 2014 for possession of alprazolam and a firearm. I know that because I prosecuted him. I gave Mr. Thug his first felony, so I gave him some street cred. But he completed the terms of his probation, and that case went away legally. He does not have a conviction because that case went away like it never happened because he took first offender and completed first offender, which is what you're supposed to do.
Speaking, you keep mentioning prosecutors. So you was a prosecutor before?
I was. I started my career as a prosecutor. I will tell you this. This is a funny story because when I graduated from law school, when I was young, I had a little too much fun. So, I've been arrested a few times myself, and I thought it'd be funny. I'm like, there is no way a DA is ever going to give me a job. So I just applied to be ironic. And Mr. Howard, who a lot of people have very negative opinions about him, but Mr. Howard sat in that interview room with me and told me face to face, like when I told him, hey, by the way, I need you to know this about my past. I've had X, Y, and Z. And he said, I know. I already knew it. I just waited to see if you were going to be upfront about it. You're going to tell me about it. And he told me, I'm going to treat you like every other candidate. If you're qualified for the job, you'll get the job. If there's a more qualified candidate, you won't get the job. But it'll be based on your qualifications, not on your past. And sure enough, it took him like 6 months, but he called me 6 months later and offered me a position. I went in there. I was skeptical because, I don't like the police. But I thought it was the best job I ever had because I was on the side of justice, right? I was doing the right thing. I'm prosecuting criminals. They're evil. I'm good. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And I took a lot of pride in what I did. And I got in trouble sometimes for dropping cases that I had no approval to drop. But in my opinion, we couldn't prove them, or the people deserved a second chance. And prosecutors have so much power. They have the discretion to go forward or not go forward on a case. They have the ability. They can change somebody's life. And I think when I was there, I did some good work. I used to work under Gabe Banks. Gabe Banks is actually now Lucci's attorney, but he was my supervisor when I was in the gang unit. And same with him. He had the same philosophy. We got to treat people with dignity. We got to respect their rights. If the cops did something wrong, it doesn't matter what they did. The cops did something wrong, we get rid of that case. And a lot of prosecutors still work that way. Sadly, too many don't. Too many just want that conviction, no matter what, no matter how long it takes, and no matter how much irrelevant evidence they can put up. But there are still some good people out there. I think I did some good work, and I firmly believe I'm doing a lot more good on this side, because when I came to the defense, I started to see how painful it is for a client to be accused of a crime. Not only the client, the family. It is so hard to deal with. Somebody did what they did, and many of them will just, they'll take consequences. So they know they might go down the road, but the pain it causes to mom, grandma, baby mama, wife, siblings, they didn't do anything, and they're going to lose a source of income. They're going to lose a source of love. So it's very hard to be a defense attorney. You can ask Ms. Diaz. She did a year as a public defender. I don't know how she still smiles.
Smile through the pain.
It's very painful. One of the things I want to talk to you about is this whole jury selection. I guess
I'm not texting other people. I'm just trying to get these lights to go off, because I know they're on your way. They probably don't look good.
No, it's fine. I can see you. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I found the right one.
Okay. As a prosecutor in the past, have you ever experienced such lengthy jury selection, and why is it so long?
Well, no, I don't think anybody has experienced this other than Mr. Adams, which is Mr. Williams's attorney. He was on the APS trial, which was the longest running trial until we got here. The reason it's taking so long is because we are asking citizens of Fulton County to put aside their lives, their loved ones, their job, their careers, their dreams, their studies, their dying parents, and come and sit and listen to the fairy tales of the state for 6 to 9 months. So, to be fair, we at least need to fully examine them and see if they can do it, and if everybody has a hardship. I cannot believe any person that can sit there for a month and not have a hardship in their life. But we want to see if their hardship would make him almost impossible to be a fair and impartial juror. So I think the court, to great criticism, Judge Glanville has been criticized by attorneys, defendants, the public, the news, other judges. The way they talk about him is so disrespectful. It makes me feel weird, but he's doing everything he can in an unprecedented case to give the citizens of Fulton County a chance to be heard and explore how would this affect their lives. And it's a duty. You are a U.S. citizen. You live in this country. You enjoy the liberties. You know what? You have a right to complain, like Judge Lambo says, but you also have the obligation to serve. And jury service, one of the most important duties anybody has. I hate it when people ask me how to get off of it. It's frustrating, because we need people that look like us. We don't have any. Like, the only people that are really going to be left at the end of the day are retired people that are on a fixed income or are independently wealthy and got nothing else to do but come and be angry at a bunch of young black men. Yeah. We need people that look like you, that look like Ms. Diaz, that look like me, to actually listen to the evidence and put themselves in that position. I've myself been prosecuted. I got prosecuted in Coweta County for like a speeding ticket, so it was no big deal. The stakes weren't that high, but please believe I was terrified when I took that stand and I testified on my own behalf. I was scared. When I did my closing arguments, my voice was breaking. It's very scary to be on the other side of the government, because the government has unlimited funds, unlimited resources, and they got nothing to lose. If they lose, they move on to the next case. If a defendant loses, they loosen their liberty.
Yeah, liberty and life. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty sad. It is so sad. As far as the next stage is, I mean, do you have any loose ends in the case right now, or is it just you're done? You don't come back into the courthouse? Or
Well, as you might know, so I think my internet might be lagging, but I think I heard your question. If I have any loose ends, can y'all hear me still?
Yeah.
We're good.
Mhm.
I got the cheap AT&T. But loose ends. I mean, as you know, Mr. Dorsey happened to have another case that again had nothing to do with YSL, and the YSL was not part of that. And in that case, he was accused of murder. I think a lot of issues took place with that case. We have filed a motion for new trial. We are hoping that the court will grant that motion, and if not, we will be appealing the case. So I can't get into too many details of that, but when I file our motions and our notice of appeal, you can see the actual details and issues that we want to bring up, because no matter what he did or didn't do, no matter what his past is, he still has rights. And the Constitution still applies to him, just like it applies to you and every other person in this country. And so we want to make sure that we protect those rights and that we get the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court to take a second look at it and make sure that everything got done properly. And hopefully he'll get a chance for a new trial, a fair trial.
Okay. Speaking of your client, a lot of us had a chance to see some of his movements. A lot of people asking.
I think you're getting it confused with like one of those used car dealerships, like little floaty things, you know.
But a lot of people was wondering, was something happening with him? Did he have some sort of?
I don't know. I wasn't in his head. I'm not a doctor, but I can only imagine that if you're being accused of something that you know you didn't do, you're being sat in such a high-profile case where you know you don't know this guy. I'm like, oh my God, I love his music, but I don't know who the hell that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all these other people that you probably saw when you were growing up in the neighborhood. Some of them, because some of them were too young. Some of them were probably in elementary school when you were out there. And like, I've seen him on the streets, but I don't know him. And I'm sitting here every day. Let's remember that Mr. Dorsey was already serving life without parole for another case. Mm-hmm. He was convicted of murder in DeKalb County. So he's already serving life without parole for that, because when you get convicted of murder, you get minimum life, worse life without parole. He was in prison. He wanted to go back to prison so bad because the bedbug-ridden Rice Street is hellhole. Nobody wants to be there. Absolutely nobody should be there. It is a human rights violation. I don't care who runs. I like Sheriff Labatt. I've supported him. I think I donated a little bit of money. I went to a couple of his fundraisers. Yes, because there was free food, but I also like him. And he is a great man. I've met his wife, a great couple. They're both very hardworking African Americans, that leadership in Atlanta. I don't care how much I like you. You are running a place where people are dying. It was 10 people to date?
Yeah.
We are not even in month 10, and we already beat one a month. Yeah. And these people are dying for preventable causes because they don't have access to medical treatment, because they're living in I think there are twice as many people there as is designed to. Just, if this was an apartment complex, the government would be all over them for violations of code enforcement. Mm-hmm. But because it's the jail, you know what's the solution? Just give us more money. If you give me more money, then only 5 people will die, not 10. Mm-hmm. They want to build bigger jails. There are thousands of people. I think it's 3,000, right? Let's say there are hundreds of people in that jail who have bonds. There are bonds on the books that they could pay. And what's their crime? Being broke, being poor. That's their crime. And so, yeah, Mr. Dorsey went to get the fuck out of there. And I think it was getting to him physically and mentally. I don't know if it was a reaction to those conditions, that his state of mind. I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm actually, that was me. I might have smacked my lawyer, probably. I don't know.
We don't want him smacking you. Now, now that the whole Trump indictment and things, there's a lot of things that's changed in the courthouse. In fact, one of the problems I'm having, because before I was able to get, the document downloaded myself, now they changed the whole computer system downstairs, new computers. Now I'm not able to get nothing and everything. I have to go through open records to get it. And it takes like 72 hours to get that stuff. So why do you think this change is happening?
I think I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I really think it's probably because a change of administrations. Shay Alexander was just recently elected to run the office, and I have tremendous respect for her. I like her a lot, and I think she's just changing processes. I don't think there's anything related to the Trump indictment. There, you got to go down there. There's a kiosk now. You got to put in your name and phone number, and that's annoying because it's not how it used to be. But in some ways, it's more efficient because now you have a paper trail of who's getting what. So I don't think it's directly related. It is.
I don't mind the paper trail. I don't mind the paper trail. I just can't get anything anymore like I used to.
Well, I'll give you some numbers. Maybe some people that I know that work in the clerk's office, and you can rub shoulders with them, and hopefully they can get it to you. Because when I need something, they'll get it to me. Okay. I think it's just changed a little bit because the person that runs the clerk's office is not the person, is not the judges, and it's not the DA. So I just think new sheriff in town, new procedures, and growing pains.
Yeah. Speaking of growing pains, do you think they'll ever allow the family to be in the court, like other court cases?
Like the Constitution guarantees?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I'm talking about with YSL case, the YSL, because they're preventing the parents, the family from being in the courthouse. First, they said it was because of it's dangerous, but I haven't seen any danger. No,
absolutely not. I mean, I've seen my light. I'm so bad at this. I'm not like a pro with you with lighting. I'm like struggling with my lights here. Who I see there a lot. I see Miss Tasha, who is Gotti's mom. She's the sweetest person I've ever seen. She's there. She works a night shift, and she's there almost every day to show support and love for her son. I've seen Mr. Jeffrey Williams Sr. He's also there a lot. Seen some cousins, some friends. I think I've seen, was it Mariah, the scientist?
The scientist, yes, his girlfriend.
I didn't know. I was like a little starstruck when I saw her. but she's there. And also Lil Rod's dad. I've seen him around. Mm-hmm. And they're all watching their loved ones, their children, their faith through a fucking Zoom screen and a courtroom in another building where they have to give their IDs and their phones and be searched to go inside. Mm-hmm. Like if you were going to prison to visit a convicted felon, but their family members are innocent until proven guilty and they have a right to a public trial. I get the logistics, I get the security argument, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? If the DA can bring in 20 of their interns and all the other DAs that got no other job to do and sit in the jury box and take up every seat, there's like 5 investigators just, I don't know, candy crushing there. If there's room for them, there's room for the public. There's room for the American people. And I hope that changes. I mean, there's one less now. So, I mean, I'm big, so y'all can take probably 3 seats. I give up 3 seats right there.
Yeah. And what about the searches of the attorney? When is that going to stop?
Well, it's not for me. You're searching me no more. Yeah. No, it's I don't I haven't seen them search the DAs anymore. I don't know.
You don't ever search the DAs, but they search you guys.
Well, I guess there's a lot of phones and a lot of drugs at the jail, and I know it's not attorneys bringing that in. Whoever brings that in probably has a badge.
Yeah, I think they have a badge too. I think they have a badge too. Yeah, definitely, because some things were shown, even with the guy Eppinger, who was speaking to one of the officers there.
Yeah, that was weird. That was also like they knew about it, but they let it keep going. Like, I don't know, entrapment. I have no idea. He's not my client.
But my question is, isn't it their responsibility, because he's under their custody. So anything he do is under their umbrella. And why is the attorney being?
That's interesting you say that, because that sounds a lot like the argument that was made by I forget. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, my internet. I apologize to your viewers. That sounds a lot like the argument that was made by that Gwinnett fancy DA that drove all the way down to handle the hearing and said that Mr. Johnson is responsible for Eppinger's actions because he gave him the computer. And they made an example of like, it's like giving somebody a knife at the jail in the kitchen and then they would stab somebody. Well, if that's the case, Pat Labat gave him that knife. The supervisor gave him that knife. The officers in the courtroom allowed us to give computers to our clients. So they know as much as Attorney Johnson or more, because they were always spying. And how come they're not getting charged as co-defendants, co-conspirators? It seems to be. I take that. Actually, that upsets me. I don't even want to go too much into it because that upsets me a lot. Mr. Johnson has been practicing, I think, for decades. His wife is a judge. He's well respected. He is a public defender for life. And you're gonna fucking accuse him of doing a crime? That's not right. It's
not. It's unfair. It's crazy. Now, as far as prosecutors, Miss Love is relentless. She do not take no for an answer. And I think she needs to be on the defense side, eventually become a defense attorney, because the way she works, she will not take no for an answer.
She's a zealot advocate, that she is.
Very much, very much. Have you ever worked with her before this?
I was in the gang unit when I left. She had just come into the gang unit, and we worked together as prosecutors.
Okay.
This is our first case against each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how was it working with her against her?
No comment.
No comment. Okay, I'll keep it. No. Ms. Diaz, I would like to hear from you. How has your experience been with this whole case?
Definitely, starting in the defense side, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but I don't think anyone knows what they're getting into stepping into a trial of this magnitude. I think just something that Mr. Chadha Jimenez already hit on a little bit that I do want to emphasize is the process of seeing somebody accept the power of the state being used against them in this way. Because the way that the state was using their power against Mr. Dorsey in all of these cases, and it taking this long to get this resolution when nothing has changed from the beginning and as far as his concerns and interests go in this case, it's really tough to see someone accept that. And as Mr. Chadha Jimenez said, he was already serving life when he wanted to fight this case. And watching him accept another outcome of the same magnitude again, I don't think anyone ever accepts that, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter how hardened you become being in this system over and over again, there's still a part of you that's very human. And I think being next to him while he was experiencing that, that's why we do what we do.
Thank you. I'm going to ask, would you like to take questions from the audience or?
Ask away.
Okay, guys, it's the time you can guys ask some questions, but I do have another question to ask in regarding to the case. Do you think that they're going to have a fair trial with everything that's happening, all these little quirks and videos being released and all this kind of stuff? Do you really think they're going to have a fair trial?
What do you think, Ziz?
Absolutely not. I think we saw that with the way they even structured this case from the beginning. They're putting people around them to make it look like something, because you have to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. That's been their strategy this whole time, and that hasn't changed.
I mean, we're looking at an indictment that took 4 hours to read for cases, and they're using RICO, and they're also using the gang statute that allows prosecutors to bring in evidence that otherwise would not be admissible. And historically, it's not admissible because it's unfair. But the DA's office, through some of their attorneys, lobbied the legislature and changed the law to let a lot of this unrelated, they say it's relevant, or unrelated activities by other people, even people that are not even charged, can come in and can be inferred to show propensity. And I know a lot of your viewers are not lawyers, but a propensity argument is not, it does not belong in a courtroom. You did this because this is the type of stuff you do. That's not right. Just like many clients say, oh, but I have all this good character evidence. I have all these people that can testify on my behalf. Well, that's irrelevant. Unless there were witnesses to what you're being accused of, or witnesses to show that you weren't there, how great of a person you are is irrelevant. So how bad of a person you used to be should also be irrelevant. But just using these laws that allow them to bring in propensity evidence is extremely unfair. Whether it's this trial or any other trial with a gang count.
Yeah. So they cannot bring character witnesses for themselves?
No, because what does the character got to do with anything? Sure, you go to church and you do a bunch of community service and you take care of your kids. What does that have to do with you possessing marijuana and a gun? I think that's what Mr. Williams is charged of.
Yeah.
Or aprazolam or something. A controlled substance and a gun. No matter how much great work you've done to the community, he's done amazing work. He takes care of other people's children that are not even his children, make sure that they got school supplies, they got tuition money, they got health care. He's doing what the government won't do in Cleveland Avenue. And that is completely irrelevant as to whether or not he was in possession of a firearm while driving his fancy car with gun on the passenger seat and whether he had some drugs. Because that's the only thing that should matter. It also shouldn't matter that Bloods exist or YSL, the criminal street gang, exists. That's completely irrelevant. Prove your case. Why are you bringing in all this other stuff that has nothing to do with the crimes people are actually accused of?
Yeah. 13 Oblivious says, I've heard lawyers saying a mistrial is inevitable. Do you agree with this?
I think so. I think the judge has tried very hard to prevent the mistrial, because what a mistrial means is just that we're going to start all over. It's going to be a redo. But there's going to be slip-ups on evidence that's not supposed to come in. There's been some rulings of evidence that is not allowed to come in because it was obtained illegally. I can foresee one of the witnesses talking about something they're not supposed to talk about. And the attorneys are going to have to be on point. They're going to have to know exactly what's not allowed, because if you don't object to it immediately when something bad happens, when something that's not supposed to happen, if you don't object to it at the moment, stand up and say objection, you've waived it. But you have the best attorneys in Georgia, and if not in the U.S. You have Bruce Harvey, you have Brian Steele, you have Keith Adams, you have Ms. Hingerty. You have the best of the best. If you go and you start pulling court records, so many cases have been overturned thanks to their work. Law has been made thanks to their work. They're not going to miss a beat. They also don't come cheap.
No.
All these defendants are wasting away their life's work to defend charges that should not last a year and a half of a trial.
It's crazy. Okay, what happened to a speedy trial? Why are they adding more witnesses if they have a strong case?
Well, that's the thing. That's the perfect question. Why are you adding more witnesses if you have a strong case? So that's just basic logic. If you don't have a strong case, then you need to add more witnesses. It's a very simple if-then.
Next one. Why did they take plea deals, some of the YSL?
Diaz can tell you that. She's against plea deals.
Ms. Diaz.
We can't speak for them. We don't know what was on the table. We don't know what those negotiations were, of course. But, different people came into this case with different interests. As we've already said, we came in with our own interests. We know our client's story. We know, what the background and context was of his other sentences. He was facing about 7 other active cases when, Mr. Chadha Jimenez started. And so people have different interests. If the deal looks like something that makes sense for them, maybe they had a lesser part in it, maybe they had a really bad history that made more sense. I think Mr. Dorsey chose not to do that because, we all had several conversations with him about what the options were, as any good attorney would. You let them know what what avenues they can take, and ultimately it's their decision. Those clients decided to take that decision, and an attorney, if they're doing their job right, shouldn't force any outcome. It's, we just tell you how to get there. You tell us what you want to do. That's kind of how we treat the attorney-client relationship.
Yeah.
She's so diplomatic, and like, this is why, she's part of my team to keep me in check, but she won't say things like I will, because they got to go home. All of them, every single person taking a deal, they got to go home. You can sit in Bedbug Rice Street, or you can go home. Call it a snitch, call it what you want to call it. If you can go home, go home. I mean, Mr. Kitchens selling out concerts right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think some people were talking about how the newest record by Mr. Williams, Business is Business, was talking shit about Mr. Kitchens, but that record was recorded before they were even ever arrested.
Mm-hmm. People don't even know that, do they?
Yeah, no, those have been sound bites that have been, on the freezer, getting ready to be released when the time was right. And unless Mr. Williams is Jesus and he knew ahead of time that Judas was going to do what Judas did, that's not what happened here. Business is business. Mr. Kitchens is a great artist. He should go out there and make all the money he can. When he was placed with the difficult decision of, you can sit here, and knowing you're innocent, knowing the only thing you ever had to do with YSL was create great music and make millions, you can sit in Bedbug Rice Street and wait till a jury acquits you, or you can say, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, and go home.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all he did. I mean, no words came out of his mouth. The only thing he ever said was, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. But the other ones, the deal that they got, I'm like, why take something that's impossible to live, especially some of the 20 years probation and things like that?
Because it's setting you up to fail. I don't know. I've been on probation. I don't know if you've ever been on probation, but it's
no, I never.
Terrible. You can't do anything. You can't move. You can't hang out with your friends, because if they got alcohol around them, then that's a violation on you. You can't. There's so many restrictions. So when we take cases, we do everything we can so that even if our client is going to take a guilty plea, probation is going to be either non-reporting, suspended, or just non-existent at all, because being on probation is being set up to fail. But that's a much easier decision to make when you're out on bond, sitting at home, looking at the case, looking at the evidence, talking to your attorney. When you're in a jail cell and you take probation today, or you can roll the dice and maybe we'll hear back in 9 months, you're saying, I'm going to take probation today, because probation, even 20 years, is better than a week at Rice Street.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Absolutely. It says here, do you agree with Attorney Manassas that Gunner's statement will never be used in trial?
I don't, because his deal is that he doesn't have to testify. His statements do not have to come in per the state. The state is not going to make him do that. However, in love and war and trial, there's no rules. Everything's fair. Any of these co-defendants, right now, I don't think anybody's planning on it. But if any of them at one point need to impeach anything that's related to Mr. Kitchens, they can subpoena him. His deal says he doesn't have to testify for the state. If I wanted to, if I was still on the trial, I put a subpoena in his hand. Well, I hire somebody to go find him and put a subpoena in his hand, because I don't know where he's at. And then he has to show up and he has to answer my questions. And if he doesn't answer my questions, I can impeach him with his transcript. So no, it's not impossible. It's very unlikely, but it's not impossible. Someone can force him to testify, just like any other person that knows anything about the case can be forced to testify through the power of subpoena.
Okay, it says here, why do you think the prosecution added 250 witnesses recently? Leave him alone.
Scratch my wall.
Oh. Question again is, why do you think the prosecution added 250 witnesses recently?
Because they are playing hide the ball. These are not new witnesses. These are not new people, new statements. They're just either, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. because it's either they are using bad faith, playing games, hiding evidence. That's worst case scenario. Or best case scenario, they're incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. They're not ready for trial. So it's one of those two.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Can you speak on the bond denial for Jeffrey Williams Jr.? There are other is charged with the same thing who has been offered bond. What are both of your thoughts on that?
What do you think, Ms. Diaz? I'll let you take this one for now.
Yeah, so the factors that a judge usually assesses when granting a bond are things like flight risk, employment, ties to the community, family dependence, anyone who relies on you, really. Our opinion is really that this has all been a show. They got their big fish, this DA's office is really intent on prosecuting gang cases, and they got that big fish to go along with this fantasy that they're trying to tell. And this is all just part of that show. They keep him in there. They're going to try and see if they can get him down into taking a plea. He's obviously not going to do that with the rest of the co-defendants that remain in the case. Of course, he has a lot of money. He could go leave Atlanta very quickly if he wanted to and not come back, and it would be very hard to find him. But there's house arrest. There are other alternatives that could have been explored here that could have prevented those things. He's obviously a member of the community. He's been around his entire life, grew up on these streets. So what's the problem? What is it really, other than the fact that you just wanted to make a show of it? You wanted to say that you're holding him no bond in Rice Street. You want to try to break him and everyone else down by doing the very things that Mr. Chadha Jimenez just outlined. It's not a good place to be. Nobody wants to be there. A lot of people think that these co-defendants are coming into the courtroom and having their fresh air, their nice surgical lighting in the courthouse. They're getting a snack and putting their feet up. That's not what this is at all. They go home to this place where people are quite literally dying. Mm-hmm. So it's just a show.
Yeah, yeah.
And the reality is that at the latest bond hearing, the state claimed, the judge said the reason denied it because the state claimed that they had witnesses that had said they were scared. And I said, okay, cool. That's not my client. I don't care about him, but I want to know what these witnesses said. I want these witness statements. Why would you talk to somebody and not record it? I mean, you got cameras. But they were like, oh, no, but we didn't record that. We didn't. No, we don't have any record. We know exactly what they said, but we don't have any record of it. Have not been given the names or anything. And this is, I agree with the judge. As officers with the court, when we get up there and say something, you should take our word for it, because that's what my whole business is, my word. But I mean, come on, like who are these people? When I say something, I can back it up. I requested in my latest discovery demand, I requested the names and I requested the statements, notes on those statements. I don't need the work product of the attorney, but I need to know what these people said, and you had to write it down to quote it. But they won't give it to us.
Yeah, they said they don't have to give you the notes of the officers or something like that.
So what's the difference? Mr. Williams forgot to be white. That's what it is.
Hello. All right. Next question from Thugger Daily. You know them because they get the right information. Hey, Thugger Daily. How are you? It says here, how are the 12 discovery dumps legal if that's not an angle for appeal already?
Well, they are, when it comes to discovery, there are rules of discovery. There is a whole section, I think 1761 and all the other statutes that come after that. And that section says that if we engage in reciprocal discovery, I'll give you my cards, you show me your cards. There's certain deadlines, there's certain requirements. And all of us have said we will engage in this reciprocal discovery, because trial is not supposed to be a surprise. There's not those Perry Mason moments like, oh, why, it was him. No, that doesn't happen in real life. We know what the evidence is, and the evidence that comes in is what the jury listens to. And those rules require that all discovery should be turned over 10 days before trial. However, the court has tremendous discretion. That's how it's legal, because the court has tremendous discretion to allow for those deadlines to be modified. For example, in the Trump case, there are, I think, 8 terabytes of discovery or something ridiculous like that. 10 days before trial, nobody can go through that. You need months to go through it. So it would be only proper for the judge to create a scheduling order and say, yes, the law says 10 days, but I'm going to require you to turn it in 3 months before or whatever. I don't know what Judge McAfee is going to do, but I expect a judge to do something that's reasonable for a fair trial. Conversely, a judge can also delay it. Like, okay, you filed a speedy trial, so you only have 1 week, so you have a week. It's after 10 days, but let's do it at 7 days. Turn it over today. The judge can also do that. In this case, Honorable Judge Glanville said, you have an ongoing obligation to turn over discovery. My interpretation of that is, if you find new stuff, you have an ongoing obligation to give it up. The state is interpreting it as, we just give it whenever. We just keep on giving it.
But the trial has already started, so they have to give it because it's supposed to be 10 days or whatever before a trial start. But a trial has officially started, right?
Yeah, but again, the judge has discretion. The judge has said, if you have an ongoing discovery obligation, and we just interpret it indifferently. I say for new stuff, they think for anything. So we will see what the judge rules. I'm out of the case now. I filed the motion. I know the other attorneys, I'm forgetting the word. Adopted. Yes. I'm not adopted, so I forgot. I don't know, actually. I got to check. Yeah, the other attorneys adopted my motions as well as I adopted theirs. So I'm sure somebody will continue to argue it. And that might be a reason why the case gets sent back if there's a conviction.
No. Okay, another question. Is it possible to offer the remaining defendant plea deals? The case is dragging.
The prosecutors have the power to give plea deals at any time. We got a plea deal for Mr. Dorsey just last week, and it was a great deal, except not for him because he's innocent. So he said, no, let's go. Let's keep fighting. Mr. Dorsey's a fighter, and he fought to the end.
So do you know if they have given Mr. Williams a plea deal?
As far as I know, I wouldn't know because I haven't talked to them about that. But as far as I know, I don't think so. They haven't offered it. He's the big fish, just like Ms. Diaz says. He's the big fish is trying to go after him, no matter how many other people they trample and how many other people's rights they violate.
Okay. Now, I was told that they had to have a certain number of people to declare it a RICO. Now that it's down to 7, does that change anything, or is it still considered a RICO, or what?
You don't have to have a certain number of defendants. You have to have an organization, and 2 people could make an organization. So you need more than 1 person. Okay. But what RICO requires is 3 predicate acts, 3 acts that show that there is a conspiracy, that there is an organized crime, right? So it can be you and I, and then we did 3 things. For example, when I was a prosecutor, I'm sorry, Ms. Diaz, and I'm sorry, all defense attorneys out there. I was an asshole with this one. I did I think it was a 20 count, probably 18 predicate acts for a couple that had some sticky fingers, and they had a bunch of shopliftings like back to back to back. So instead of prosecuting shoplifting number 1, you took $1,000. Shoplifting number 2, you took $500. Shoplifting number 3. No, I put that on a RICO because each shoplifting would have given them 5 years at the most. They fell only once or a year. But when I put that on a RICO, gave them 20 plus 5 plus 10 plus blah, 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 blah. Wow. So when they saw that indictment, that multi-page indictment, they both pled. Ain't nobody going to trial because I had the evidence too. But that was it. I needed at least 3 prior shopliftings to be used to form the enterprise and the conspiracy. And then all the other ones were just, icing on top of the cake. I didn't need to do it, but by putting them on, it made him look so darn guilty. But I mean, they did do what they do, though, so I don't feel that bad.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'm gonna cut it short in a few because I don't want to hold you guys too much longer. It's almost 8:30, and I don't like holding people longer than an hour. So let me know if it's okay. You want to go longer, but my deal is usually an hour, so you guys can come back.
We're here as long as you need us.
Oh, okay. All right. The next question is, let's see. Here we go. Another RICO question. It says here, where is the RICO? All I see is a lot of different cases thrown together based off of association. Well, I guess you just explained it. 3 acts, 3.
So Is that Ashley Nelson that has that?
Yeah.
I don't know if she's in law school, but if she's not, the LSAT is only a few dollars. You got to take it because you already understand law better than some of these prosecutors.
Unbelievable. They have Umfung at gas station, but didn't record witnesses' statements of fear, lies, and unfair treatment. Okay. That was a statement. Okay. We got Thug Light. It's a shame that we didn't get to hear you argue about the do not serve this discovery yet motion. That motion was fire. LOL.
Thank you.
All right. Would you use a special jury?
I don't know what,
Ever use a jury special?
I don't even know what the question means. I don't know everything. What
I think it's a person that's a specialist and they can.
Oh, okay, like an expert, like jury expert.
Yeah.
Actually, if I had the funds, absolutely. Mr. Williams and his team, I think Brian Steele brought in Ms. Bernard. She's been sitting there.
Oh, okay, she's a jury expert. Okay. I was wondering who she was.
Yeah, and she's given us so much great. The greatest thing about this case, I mean, we built camaraderie. I know Ms. Diaz was only there for about a week. Her funny note, her first day was when Mr. Dorsey decided to do something.
I know.
That was day one. But this trial I can't wait till it's over so we can all take a trip and go hang out, because the friendships and camaraderies that we made, the mutual help.
I'm part of it.
Please, you'll be there. You better show up. I told you already. You gotta come. Not shoddy though. I'm
gonna tell Shoddy.
But we shared everything. We don't have an official joint defense agreement, but if there was something I needed, if I'm in the middle of a motion and I'm freaking out, I just look at my text and there it is. Max Sharp is texting me, blah, 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 Georgia Appeal, look at it. I'm looking at it, I pull it up on my phone real quick. I got the link, and then I can continue to argue. Awesome. Just the teamwork has been great. And it's different because if you look at the state, that ain't no teamwork. That is somebody telling somebody else how they're fucking up, as opposed to like building each other up. Never, even some people did some things that we didn't like, but we never brought each other down. Like, okay, well, we'll fix it. We'll keep on moving. We'll keep rolling with it. I mean, the experience, Mr. Botts he didn't say much, but when he said something, when he got up and he asked those jurors, those questions were like, took years in the making. Just the way he delivered those questions, I was taking notes. Like, I want to speak like he speaks. But it has been a great experience to be with these amazing lawyers.
Yeah, he has a lot of wisdom, because when we sitting in that little room, I mean, I just be sucking it all up. All right. It says, what did they offer Mr. Dorsey before dropping the case?
Community time served. Not even probation, nothing. No snitching, no nothing. Just plead guilty and you go on to prison. But if you're innocent, you don't plead to nothing. I mean, you're not just going to bend over just because you're already serving a life sentence.
No, I wouldn't do it either. If I know I didn't do something, I'm going to go all the way to the end. No, I didn't do it.
Take that shit to trial.
Exactly. All right. Whatever happened to the leaked YSL Woody footage and the investigation on that?
Nothing, because they were trying to do an investigation themselves. I believe Mr. Harvey filed a great motion. We said that was very improper. And so the judge said, okay, well, no, that is correct. We shouldn't be doing this investigation internally. Maybe one day somebody else will. Maybe the GBI will come in. But they might not want it, because I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't Mr. Dorsey. I can be very, very confident to say that it was not any of the other attorneys or defendants. So that only leaves another party that might have leaked it.
Prosecution, I can say it.
So it was definitely not us. And it was, because it hurts us. That's a terrible video. I don't want you to watch it. I don't want the jury to see it, because it's not admissible. Yeah. If you have seen it, you can tell that Mr. Copeland is high as fuck. He's checking his pulse. Not because he's nervous, because he's high. His heart rate is pumping. His heartbeat is through the roof. He is terrified. They are coercing him. They're like, well, I can't really do nothing for you, but I can ask some people, see what I can do for you. He got caught with a gun. He just did a stint of 5 years for the other gun charge he had. It was a federal case. I helped investigate that case back in 2015, I think. So he served 5 years for that. He already knows he's going to go down the road for another 5. And they're telling him, oh, talk to somebody. And then he goes along to tell him about all this stuff that never happened. He said there was something going to happen that night. There was already, the wheels were turning. Somebody was going to get shot at. Nothing happened that day. Whether he was there or not, if something's going to happen, he's not the shot caller, right? He's just one of the minions. So it's the plan will still go forward. But nothing went forward because he was bullshitting. He was making all this stuff up to get out of there. Bless his heart. He wants to get home. He wants to go home to his baby. I will tell you this. A lot of people hate Woody. When I was prosecuting him, I thought this dude is a real one. This guy was driving. He was coming out of his apartment complex with his baby mama. And he's coming out, and there's been all these shootings back and forward. And while there's all these shootings going on, he's hyper alert, because people have tried to shoot at him and at other members of his friends, and he's coming out with his baby, like a baby, not like a toddler, like a baby. He's got his baby going to his car parked right in front of his the apartment complex, and he sees a car out of his left eye. He sees a car just parked at that stop sign, not moving, and he's such a gangster. Like, he knew what was going on. Car starts rolling slowly. He starts rolling slowly. The windows come down, and then you see 2 sticks coming out the car. And I know all of this because I prosecuted the guys that did this. And Woody turns around, covers his baby, pulls out a Glock, not a stick, not an AR, just a good old handgun, pulls out a Glock, shoots at them, disables the vehicle, shoots the engine. The engine is disabled. The vehicle has to go crash. Hits one of the dudes. I know that happened because there was blood all over. We had DNA of one of the shooters all over the place. And then they get out of the car and they run. They ran out of there. There was 3 of them with AR-15s or whatever other machine guns, whatever other rifles. And he had one handgun and completely disabled the vehicle and protected his baby in the process. And then APD was on him so much that I don't know what happened to him. When I saw that video, that's not the man that I recognized from when I was doing an investigation. He was broken. They probably just the same way they were interrogating him. They broke him, and that's what the police do. They act like they care about you, but they really don't. They just want that conviction.
Wow. All right. With this trial dragging so long, when is your timeline to when it begins? What is the timelines really?
I think they'll be opening statements by the end of October. You'll get to see.
That's what I said. I said the same thing, October. Okay, okay, we already answered that question. Okay, it says, why didn't an attorney ask for a change of venue?
Where do you want to go? You want to go to Chatham County? You want to go to Troup County? You want to go to Coweta County? Unless we get Clayton, there's no other county where there's going to be our peers. You want to go to Houston County or White County? No, we need a jury of our peers. And when you ask for a change of venue, you don't get to pick where you go. They send you somewhere.
Okay. Angie says, how do you feel seeing viral social media posts about your client and people poking fun at him?
It's frustrating. I mean, because you don't understand the mental pain he's been going through for the past 9 months. And he has, we laughed about it. I showed him and we laughed. We all laughed. Maybe we said, maybe we should start a hashtag, the polo dance on TikTok or something.
Polo dance.
Polo
dance.
I mean, it was just imagine being held in a cell like an animal for 9 months, away from your family, your loved ones, no health care, no adequate food. You might act a fool too. So I don't blame him. And it is what it is. I mean, people make fun of me. You got to have tough skin. I mean, they make fun of my hair. Say I had like a rat tail or something. Call me the leader of the Navajo Nation, I think, that's actually a compliment.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay, it says Mr. Dorsey going to go undergo a psychological evaluation for good measures.
No, I requested one from Judge Adams, and she said no. So no psychological will be ordered.
Why?
She says he looks fine. I guess I'm not a doctor, but
The doctor, huh?
I'm a juris doctor. So if you know any jurors that are sick, I'll take care of them. But other than that,
Okay, it says Woody is also the source of Mr. Williams' met up with everyone at McDonald's the night of the nut murder lie.
it's yeah, they claim that that's what the Woody said. So Woody has lied a lot. So hopefully the jurors can see through that. They'll be able to see who's credible and who is not. And again, a lot of people criticize Woody, but just like being in jail is painful, so is being harassed by police and coercive interrogation techniques. People break. That is why we have so many cases of innocent people in prison after confessing to crimes that they never did, because these officers are trained to break you. They're trained to make you say things that you would never say in any other circumstance. That is why they want Cop City, because they want all officers to be properly trained in how to coerce people into false confessions.
Wow. Okay, and I'm going to do this last question here. Says, why are the bonds taking so long for nonviolent offender? Do you think they have strategy behind that, or just throwing noodles on at the wall?
I'll let Ms. Diaz answer that. She's got a lot more experience with nonviolent offenders than I do.
Yeah, so I think especially when you're dealing with misdemeanors, people who even are committing felonies for the first time, or first charge and it is a felony, a lot of the times they're trying to take advantage of the fact that you're scared in those situations. Even if it's a violent offense like a battery, a misdemeanor battery, sometimes I've seen people charged with battery for throwing water on somebody. So sometimes the charge doesn't really, it's not commensurate with the act, but technicalities allow prosecutors to bring these cases, and then investigations happen and charges are dropped later. But somebody's still sitting in jail and paying $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 bond on these, little things, money they may or may not get back later. So I really think that the issue here is that a lot of, especially smaller counties, are using this money as well as taxpayer dollars. But this money is also the bedrock of a lot of county government and a lot of, social and public programming. And I think that it's unfortunate that incentivizes people, prosecutors' offices and police, to take people to the jail in the first place and then deal with it later. It's someone else's problem. They push it down the line. You won't take a plea later. The charges will get dropped later, but you still spend a night, sometimes a week, and sometimes a month in jail because those bonds are just too high.
So why do they do more of sending people to jail instead of, like say you get into arguments and all of a sudden they putting somebody in handcuffs and there's no physical fight or anything because it's just an argument? I've seen people go to jail for that.
Probable cause is a very low standard. And a lot of these preliminary hearings, a preliminary hearing happens after your first appearance. So the first thing that you do when you get arrested is you see a judge within 48 hours, or you should. Then after that, you usually will have a preliminary hearing to discuss the probable cause for your arrest. That standard is so low. Only one person has to come in and say this happened. The police officer will come in and give their take. And usually a judge will determine that that's sufficient. Not always, that's why we have these types of hearings. But the standard is just so low to allow these cases to get to the next stage, which is, getting in front of the judge who is ultimately going to be presiding over your case at arraignment. At that point, you've already probably seen two judges, neither of whom is presiding over your case. And you've probably been coming to court for 6 months before you get anywhere. So, there's just this ongoing process of pushing things down the road because it's someone else's problem. An investigator in the DA's office will look at it later. The police just want their, they don't have numbers like that. They don't have quotas, but there's a little pride in coming back with X amount of people that you brought into the jail today. That's their job. It's unfortunately what they take pride in as part of their profession. It's what they do,
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately with that badge comes this idea of authority that empowers them to do this, because who's going to hold them accountable? The person who threw water on their girlfriend? Why? What incentive do you have to hold them accountable? And how do you do that if you're indigent?
Yeah. It's such an unfair system, and I'm so glad there are people like you guys out there who really care for the folks, the ones that can't afford half of the stuff that's going on. But this is the last question for real, because she said last question. Angie, you get the last one. Last question. What do you think of the judge? That's not a fair question. You don't want to get into
No, I'm going to sound like I'll read the question. Last question. What do you think of the judge, his attitude and conduct throughout the whole trial so far? I think the judge is doing I know I sound like kiss ass, but he's doing an amazing job with these circumstances. I've been before other judges where they say, what is Glanville doing? If I was doing that, I'll do it differently. Well, show me. Because right now, I think there's a 61 co-defendant RICO trial for the Cop City kids, and I might be part of that. And let's see how they handle it differently, because this is not normal, and it shouldn't be normal. Don't blame the judge for this. It is the state that chose to bring such a massive and ridiculous indictment, and then object to everybody. Every single person in that courtroom asked for it to be severed, and then they will object to the severance. And they want to go forward on all 28 of them. On this case, they want to go forward on all 19 of them with Mr. Trump and the other people. They want to go forward with 61 co-defendants of young people that were at a concert to express their First Amendment right to protest and speak against government because they don't agree with Cop City. They want to keep them all together. It's not the judges. And then the judges are dealing with this situation. And I think Judge Glanville has dealt as well as he can. He's ruled against me and the other co-defendants so many times. I would say he's ruled against us more than he has ruled against this state. He probably shuts us down more often than he shuts down this state. But he still does it with respect. He has shown tremendous respect to me. I know he butchered my name for about 8 months, but then I said something and he tried his best to get it right. And that goes a long way. I respect him a lot for that. He's got to be there too. He's been there for 8.5 months as well. He's tired. And I think that some of his punishment, for lack of a better word, punishment to the jurors that have been held in contempt and people that have not respected the court doesn't show that he's a tyrant. What it shows the tremendous level of respect and admiration he has for jury service. And he expects other people to have the same level of respect. He is a general. He has risked his life for this country. And all he's asking you to do is show up on time when that little piece of paper came in the mail and be respectful and not take videos and listen. So I don't think that's too much to ask. And if his reaction seems to be abrasive to some people, maybe you should reconsider how much you value jury service and that flag. I mean, his speech is very patriotic. I might not agree with all of it. I mean, I'm not a super patriotic person myself, but I tremendously respect the way he sees the process. And that's why he's been the way he's been, because that's who he is.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's trying to be as neutral as possible of what I've seen. And to me, out of all the cases I've seen some federal cases and things like that, he has handled the jury selection process better than most of any judge I've ever seen. Because it seems like he's straightforward, he's thoughtful. Even some of the jurors, when Ms. Love was trying to push, he was like, no. And they got into like a little spat thing at one point because he was like, no, I'm tired of you doing this. This is it, So I respect him for that. And a lot of people disagree with me, but they're not there. They don't see everything that I see. So. But I just want to thank the two of you for coming out and being here and explaining a lot of things for us. We appreciate you so much. I wanted to put the Cash App, or your Cash App or something. And
anyway, I'll take donations. I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you.
Okay, put it up. Look, hold on. Put it under your knee.
I don't know how to do this. I'll send it to you. You can do it.
Okay.
Let me see. I know I got one because I get paid sometimes. Not all my cases are free.
So most of your cases are free?
Oh, no. I stopped. When I left the DA's office, I did a little bit of appointed work. Appointed work is when you're a private attorney, but they give you cases because the public defenders and the conflict defenders are conflicted out. So someone else needs to handle them. Or I also was on the appointed list in Cobb County, where the indigent defense is handled by private attorneys, assigned the cases at a flat rate. And I did a lot of work like that. But lucky enough that today my phone rings every day and I have plenty of work so I can handle those cases. And I think what me and Ms. Diaz, what we do is we focus on like that donut hole of need for defense. Because if you make too much money, you don't qualify for a public defender. And public defenders are great. Like I said, Mr. Johnson has been a public defender for life. Max Shard was a public defender for the longest time. Brian Steele started as a public defender.
Wow.
This is one of the most honorable professions there are. They are underpaid. They have no respect by prosecutors, judges, and clients, and they still show up every work and put in the hours and get great results. But then there's also wealthy clients can get the fancy attorneys. They can get the, J-Apt and all these other multi-comma retainer attorneys. And then there's the people in the middle. You don't make enough to get a very pricey attorney, but you make too much to qualify for a public defender. So I think that's where we go in and we help a lot of people that are still struggling. One of the hardest things about my job is that every single client I've ever had is losing. Like there's no client that's ever won, because even when I get acquittals, and I've had quite a number of acquittals, we've gone to trial, take it to trial, and the jury says not guilty, and it feels great, but you still got arrested. You lost your dignity. You have to pay a bond. You have to pay an attorney. You have to take off from work to show up to court for 20 different hearings before you even get a chance to present your case. So every single person I have ever represented is losing. Yeah. But that's why we do what we do, because we try to at least make the process a little less painful.
Yeah. And it's great to have an attorney that cares for the client too, because some attorneys just do it just for the money and not really fighting the fight for their client.
I think I'll fight. Let's go.
Yeah. And thank you.
Ms. Diaz, just wait. I wanted y'all to see her on action, but you're just going to have to show up to court and do it the old-fashioned way. Man, she's a fighter.
Yeah, I want to see her. I want to see the next case. So I'll be looking out to see what cases that you have coming up. So I
have a great mentor here. So I'm excited for y'all to see what we got next.
Well, I'll be looking out for the next cases anyway. But don't forget, you guys, we still got to communicate. All right, because I'm gonna miss you. I'm really gonna miss you, seeing you there. But
thank you.
You got to go move on to better things now. But thank you. Thank you so much for your time. You guys have a great evening. All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. All right. How did you guys like the our guests? What do you think? Did you learn a lot? Sorry, guys. Somebody was calling at the time. So I apologize. But what do you think? Did you guys like what you heard, or do you understand it better? And I appreciate every single one of you guys being here. But I have lots of guests coming up, especially with the YSL. So we're gonna stay tuned. I'm back on the grind with YSL. Okay. Even though we didn't have camera people in there, but we're gonna have more attorneys coming up real soon. Okay. I try to not bring them in because their cases like going on right now. So I catch them as they leave, So I got a few more that I'm going to have as my special guests. Wow. As long as you guys here, I'll keep it coming. Okay. Thank you so much again. And the surprise one will be Mr. Steele. Once his thing is over, we're going to have Mr. Steele here and we're going to be ready for the questions. Okay. After the win. Okay. All right, guys. You guys have a great night. Love you. Bye.